Hello, everybody. This is Far. I guess you guys kind of know me from previous matches. I'll be co-casting today with Redlin. Mainly, Planetside Battles 1 will be yourself, Red, today, and I'll be on Planetside Battles 2.
So basically, we're going to be switching this up a little bit. Usually, Fair is our main caster. He's the one who controls the camera, flies around, and I help him find the fights. We're just switching up a little bit. It is awfully late where you are, Farah. The problems of trying to run things all the way across the world. What time will this match be ending your local time today?
Oh, well, it starts at 2 a.m. and then it ends at 4 a.m., but that's just the way we made it. We made it more friendly for the servers that are taking part rather than friendly for the casters, so I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to a good game today. I mean, staying up late is worth seeing the undefeated Briggs go against the resurgent Emerald. So I'm looking forward to this, especially in Hossin, which is my favorite continent because it offers the most tactical flexibility and there's the most amount of territory that can be easily obtained.
And that is true. We are on Hossin, and this is a different version of Hossin. Hossin is probably the most flexible continent that we have as far as ways to divide it up. You guys have seen a bunch of different new maps from our last season. We've tried these different ways. We even tried Indar for the first time to, I'm sure, to some people's delight and many people's horror. But this is a little bit different version of Hossin. Why don't you talk a bit about how this differs from our old map here, Farah?
Well, Hossin is a unique map because it's the first map that was fully designed for lattice links, and it's the first map that was quasi-developed for, I say the word balanced, three-way game. So right now, the old map used to be split vertically from north to south, and we changed that, if you're looking at the map, from this time from the western warp gate between the eastern and southern. So the map is different because it offers a variety of different bases that are neutral at the beginning. Wainwright Armory, if we start from the west, is the most furthest neutral territory. It offers some good opportunities for the Eastern Warp Gate to attack. That is an important base if you want to lock off your north, or if you want to push down to Iron Key or Quay, however you want to pronounce the base. There's the first lane that's the only lane that doesn't have a neutral territory is Sharp's Run and Edgewater Overlook. Those are interesting bases. Edgewater is quite a vulnerable base to attack. Sharp Run's quite tricky. We know that in the Miller Cobalt game, Sharp's Run was taken instantly because of the difficulty of it. Moving on into the center, Broken Vale Garrison is a horrendous base to try and defend, just by the nature of the capture point being so far north away from the spawn room. If I was the Eastern Briggs commander, I would probably put a lot of emphasis on Broken Vale, at least getting that out of the way so you don't have to worry about being attacked from behind. In the center, we've got Nason's Defiance. That hasn't changed. That's always under contention. And rather than having the Biolab under fight under our previous map, this time around we have the Ixtab Amp Station. And we saw huge fighting going at Ixtab power regulation, water purification, the Amp Station. It was a massive grind fest in the last Cobalt Miller game. So maybe the same we'll see here today. Hard to say. And then moving on to the east, we've got Eastern Substation, which is the neutral base between the two large outposts of Genesis terraforming plant for Emerald and Bravata PMC in the north for Briggs. And then finally, we have the Ziggurat leading into Nettlemar Gardens, which is a large tree with kind of like under roots capture point. It's very nice. Equal approaches from the north and south, down into Moonlight Foundry for the Emerald team.
Something else that is fairly rare nowadays in ServerSmash, it didn't used to be, is Briggs has chosen the ever unpopular TR. It seems to be quite popular for Briggs.
Isn't TR like undefeated? TR has a really good rating.
It has a really good record.
And in this map, it would work because... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think it's funny that, you know, TR is the dog for every other server, and Briggs seems to like it. I believe this is their third time playing
Emerald
TR.
played TR, didn't they, in their previous game?
Yes, that was the first time in a very long time, I believe.
I would need to check the details, but basically, I personally play TR, and I don't see a problem with it. Maybe you like your scatter maxes or whatnot, but honestly, in an organized fighting scenario, we saw Emerald use maxes, lockdown maxes with pounders on inside room fights where the air and the vehicles couldn't get in, and all they did was just spam the door. Now, lockdown pounder that spams a door is horrendously terrifying. It's the amount of DPS output is, and it's not just one guy. He's got a full support, and it's like 30 plus people in a building. I can see where they use it, and then maybe not so much in Hossin because of the undergrowth and whatnot. You'd have to find good anti-air nests, but in maps like Indar or Esamir with open skies, lockdown anti-air parties. You know, maybe have a galaxy, 2-3 lockdown maxes that can then drop and then just lock down on the ground and shoot stuff. that's really effective. And if they can bring that kind of stuff to Hossin, maybe create no-fly zones, it's going to be very, very effective as well.
Something else that's interesting, and this was definitely one of the jewels when we created this map, is Fort Liberty is technically in play, and Fort Liberty was the final base created by Malorn, if I'm correct, and it was designed specifically for head-to-head combat, PAL or PSBL style squad level combat, and it's only one base back into Briggs territory. I'm really interested to see if that is part of a push.
Yeah, the thing is, the problem was I tried because it was myself that designed these maps. I tried really hard to get Fort Liberty as one of the starting bases, but it didn't kind of work out in terms of balance. We had to make Wainwright Armory neutral instead. And to be honest, if they're fighting at Fort Liberty, then the Eastern Warp Gate's doing something wrong. It means that they've lost Wainwright Armory or Edgewater Overlook, and they've been pushed back. And I'll look really forward to it if they do, because I really want to see Fort Liberty. It's an awesome little base. I absolutely love it. It's really well designed, but it's not going well for the Eastern Warp Gate, them being Briggs, if they're actually fighting at Fort Liberty today.
Now, you mentioned that Hossin is your favorite continent. Is that just in general, or is that for ServerSmash? What do you like about Hossin?
I like the fact that you've got the overlay. I'm an infantry player, right? And I'm a platoon lead, and I prefer it when I don't have to worry too much about air. I don't mind vehicles that much, but air. So I like the low-hanging canopy that kind of gives you kind of sight issues, so you've got clears. And I realize that Liberators can hide in the tree line. You have to be careful of that. So for me, it feels I don't have to worry about. It's an extra thing I don't have to worry about. And there's a ton of bases. And also another issue that's not in other maps is there is almost an unbroken chain of small outposts from Warp Gate to Warp Gate. You don't have to deal with large outposts if you don't want to. That's another kind of cool feature. And I suppose you can, maybe this isn't a good thing, but you can abuse almost every base. Every base is designed not to allow you to have vehicles in the base, but you can abuse it to get vehicles inside the base. So if you're properly, seriously attacking a base that you really want, it's not about the fun factor. It's not about the, oh, it's a fair fight. It's a case of, I'm coming to this base and I want to take it in the most kind of strangled way possible. And in that instance, yeah, sure, put 7 Sunders inside construction site Alpha's capture point with a captured King of the Hill type point instead of building that can't be shot at. If that gets you the base with less than 50% numbers, then totally worth it.
I think it's interesting. This particular map has a lot of intriguing matchups of bases. For one, it actually makes Nasons, you have to go for it. The other map, there were a lot of neutrals leading into Nasons, and we would see Nasons get either ghost capped or somebody would cut it off and then capture it. This, Nasons is right on the front line at the beginning, and you got to have a fight over it. Broken Veil...
I think it would be slow, though.
Yes, I agree.
The Nasons fight would be... It's like, so long as you match the numbers of the other team, Broken Veil Garrison and Ixtab Power Regulation, those are the two big bases that matter at the beginning. And then everything kind of develops from there, I think.
And Broken Veil is one of those bases that, because it is so heavily owned by the attackers, it never stays whoever owns it very long. It's so easy to drop a squad on there and just do a point hold or drive a Sunder up behind it and have better spawn options than the defenders do. It's something you really got to watch for. You can't defend that base from itself. You have to defend it from another hex behind it. And the stuff off to the east is bases we haven't seen fought at. Eastern Substation is a usual construction site that maybe not the most interesting of bases to fight over, but Nettlemere Gardens is, again, perfectly symmetrical. It's a tree, kind of half open, half enclosed area. You can get vehicles in there if you know what you're doing. I think that's going to be a really interesting base fight over there. And that lane itself, Mulak Foundry, Ziggurat, even Zot's Agricultural, that's a really easy lane to push back and forth. It reminds me a lot of the Ymir lane on Ezimir.
Right, and the thing is that you can make a push kind of late on in the game, depending how the numbers go. Eastern Substation is a grind fest. It's just going to be one of those bases between two large outposts, and it's just going to be, ground out between the two. And then, in fact, is if you get Eastern Substation, then you start pushing on the large outposts, and Bravata PMC and Genesis Terraform, they're going to be red lines for both respective teams. They can't afford to lose those bases. One of the advantages that the Southern Warp Gate has, if we're talking about this, is in terms of base approaches, they are at a slight disadvantage when it comes to the east, and it's about roughly 50-50 in the center. But the Southern Warp Gate, this is Emerald, has a big advantage in the west, and that's something Briggs has to be aware of. They have Genudyne Holographics, which is a large outpost on the west, which kind of locks down their point. They also have Cairn Station. that is a tower on the inner side of the base that allows them to pull galaxies, because Hossin does not have a lot of galaxy spawns. You have to pull it from the warp gate, so that gives them an advantage. And then talking about the west itself, the west has a lot of small single point capture points. So if you go from Sharpstone or Iron Key, if you're looking at from the southern warp gate, they can go all the way up to Nom's Amp Station or Hatcher Air Station, or hypothetically, you could push to Broken Vale Garrison from the west, which is essentially the neutral base at Wainwright Armory. So there's a lot of options available to Emerald if they can apply pressure on the west and if they can support their numbers. And this is why... Sorry, go ahead. Awesome.
Where we come from, we each fight for loyalty, for freedom, or perhaps enlightenment, but not here. Here we cast aside our disparate beliefs, our barriers and preconceived notions, and band together as a global force to engage in the largest competitive battles the world has ever seen. We are the squads, the platoons, the empires and servers, full of players coordinating a complex game of strategy and tactics. This is where combined arms happens. This is where war comes to play. This is ServerSmash.
All right, so everything looks like it's getting ready to go here. And Justicia, about how far out are we here?
Just under 3 minutes.
Okay.
So, Red, what's your opening move? I mean, how would you do this as the Force Commander?
I think that you have to get that middle section. Broken Vale, Nason's, Ixatab Amp. You have to come out at least one base ahead there. And that may not be the first 10 minutes, but the first 30 minutes, you have to at least get enough there that you can hold. Maybe that's not where you're going to gain your territory in the long run, but you can't ignore that. The sides look like they're going to have a lot of motion to them, a lot of places that you can push. The Zots lane.
Which warp gate are you looking at?
I am going to head to the eastern warp gate for Briggs.
Okay. I'll go south.
But yeah, I think that middle is a real challenge. You have to at least make your presence known there and get what you want to either hold or maybe you want to push there, and then go ahead and take territory from the other sides.
Yeah. It depends what the priorities are. If I've had all these conversations for hours when we did the Miller game, but basically, I think extra power regulation, as I said before, and pushing into the amp station could be quite vulnerable, but not to the detriment of other bases. Netumar Gardens and Ziggurat can go back and forth. Ziggurat I find actually quite a hard base to take unless you have air. And then if I was Emerald, I'd like to see Emerald apply pressure on the western lane. And conversely, Briggs, I don't know if they can repeat Miller's success by pushing down the entire western lane that happened last time where there was a quite impressive push. But yeah, we'll just wait and see then. I'd personally push down the west, but then again, that's me because that's what I did. But, maybe there's got to be enough emphasis also on the center, as you said.
1 minute before match start. 1 minute before match.
Everyone, I apologize. Occasionally the bug is going to mess up on me. It's just the way that my monitor works. So I'll refresh it as quickly as I can when I notice it, but occasionally it's going to do some funky things. I'll fix it when I can.
Did you, just this year, did you set up the Moo bot?
That's Maelstrom's doing.
Send your hate. Send your hate to Maelstrom. Send your hate to Maelstrom, everyone. That's who's causing you to not be able to type whatever terrible things you want to type.
This time.
This time, yes.
Right. Anyway, we're about 25 seconds out, so I'm going to check it, see what's going on here.
All right.
I'm really interested to see if the mosquitoes get up and try and do some interdiction with the Reavers. They have just a couple seconds of extra
Flight
time
time
over time.
from the southern warp gate will actually get to the western
10,
bases first.
9,
There's even
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Match start. Good luck to all participants.
Briggs has a large amount of mosquitoes heading off directly to the south again, it looks like that massive push to the middle.
Always a very impressive thing when a ServerSmash starts, watching all the ESFs just taking off in almost all directions. You can see that the Reaver Force is also coming out of the warp gate and essentially coming out as an umbrella, going in all directions. No clear push just yet. Oh, X-Step power regulation. Tell a lie. That's probably where they're going to go.
Yeah, it's the amp station. It looks like they're pushing center of the amp station area. And we do have some air engagements.
Now, it's interesting to see whether or not the ESFs will automatically bail. Oh, actually, do we have a gentleman's agreement in place today for no air lock-ons? I think we do, because I'm seeing coyotes. I'm not seeing air lock-on. I
believe we do, but that's something we'll have to check with our referee on. That's not something that Planetside Battles goes off of.
Necessarily, yes.
Yeah, it's up to the players themselves. If we can't
enforce it, then we don't run it. But if there's a gentleman's agreement, that's what it is, then go for it.
On the point at Ixatab power regulation, there are 2 NC. They killed off the single TR who had dropped down here, and they're already chain pulling Sunderers out of the bottom. NC looks like they are really pushing pit power.
Oh yeah, Emerald playing for the base right away.
And Briggs has come in. Briggs has come in with some galaxies to power regulation. That's very surprising. They did the slow approach here. They did not come in to try and get the point first. They came in with 3 or 2 galaxies and are dropping squads directly on the point now. Again, it doesn't matter who does the first half of a base cap on a neutral site. It only matters who gets the base at the end. So, their intention was let them take the first.
In terms of if you get to a base first and then you set up with like a lot of Sunders and vehicles like that.
And they have a Emerald does have a Bulldog Sunder onto the point here at Ixtal Power. Looks like Vind. I assume that's maybe the Vindicators.
So to give you guys a brief understanding of what's going on, Emerald is playing hardball right now on the far west. They've secured Sharp's Run right at the beginning, and they've pushed pretty strong 64% into Edgewater Overlook on the far west. Wainwright is 50-50 at about a platoon plus each for each side. And Broken Veil, we've got a 60% population for Emerald. So all 3 bases on Emerald side, they have slight overpops. Looks like Nason's Defiance is an overpop for Briggs, but it's not actually ticking down. And then, as you said, Ixtab power regulation, we have an overpop for Briggs by 53%, but it's currently, you said that Emerald that has the capture point.
Emerald has the cap point, but most interesting to me is Eastern Substation, completely undefended by Emerald right now.
Maybe Emerald values more the western bases, which is why they're applying the extra numbers. Oh, I tell you, Briggs has come back and redeployed Wainwright Armory. Oh, they've got Battle Sunder coming up to the point. This might be an interesting fight if you're looking for places to go.
Just 1 second, guys. Red Adam had a hiccup with the stats. Can you refresh your page?
I just did, yeah. I noticed it.
Time.
Right. By the way, Fair and I are trying this out where we're in the same squad together, so he's giving me little locations to fly to when he finds something good. Right, I'm here at Wainwright, and this, of course, is the King of the Hill style map, where you have a long twisting road up to the top of the tower facility.
If you want to see another thing cool, if you just fly over, is squad waypoint now for you. This is why Edgewater Overlook is a horrendous base to try and defend, because at squad waypoint, which Rez is going to show you in a second, is you can deploy a Sunder on the point. And that means you can absolutely throttle the spawn room, which is down in terms of altitudes with Sunders and battle buses and whatnot. So if you get your guys on this base, it allows you to approach Last Hold and Fort Liberty. So Emerald is doing a really good job, realize the weakness of this base. And they're doing a really, really good job of holding on to the point.
In Emerald's last 3 matches, they've really shown the ability to use force multipliers. You know, anyone who comes into ServerSmash thinking they're going to be gentlemanly, they're only going to play with IVI, infantry sanctioned weapons, and do it. Yeah, you're doing that wrong. Put as many Sunderers with Bulldogs on the point, and GG, you got the base.
Yeah, it's ServerSmash. You're here to grab the territory. It's the ultimate territory alert or objective alert. You're not playing for KD, you're playing for the base. So yeah, you abuse whatever you can abuse.
Now, interestingly here, the entire East is about to fall for Briggs very hard.
Wainwright's going to be secured. They're taking Wainwright Armory as Briggs, but they're losing Overlook.
The East, not the West. Ixatab Power Regulation, Eastern Substation, Nettlemar Gardens, all falling right at this moment. and almost no one over there to defend for Emerald. I'm actually going to head over to Wainwright, which looks like it's also going back for Briggs, and might put a kink in this plan here. Emerald looked like they had made all their gamble to the west quite significantly, and this is going to be a real problem. Oh, but right as I get to the base, Emerald has dropped. It looked like squad dropped with beacons directly on the point. This is an incredibly difficult point to hold. It's so open. Even one Reaver, one Bulldog, anything will just wipe you off this point. And now it's up to Briggs to try and grind back up that corkscrew area. They do have a beacon up there, which I think is also how Emerald got on here as well. So not quite a last-second save of Wainwright, but it's certainly Emerald came at the last possible moment here to save their western push.
The populations at Edgewater has gone back up to 50-50, so they're both kind of dancing around each other at the moment. Although I'm not sure how they're going to get to the capture point, because Edgewater has, like I said, horrendous space. The only way to get to Edgewater is to technically spawn back at Hatcher Air Station and Valkyrie in over the hills to the north of the capture point, kill off any Sunder that you see at that sweet spot that's deployed, and then drop into the capture point. But that involves preparation and the teams that are doing it knowing what to do at certain bases.
Briggs is trying to bring in some Sunders here to help them get up to Wainwright, but unfortunately for them, Emerald has brought in the much more powerful force here at Wainwright, at least, which is air. They flew off for a second, but if you can just pound this open cap point, you're not going to get anywhere near it.
Briggs has invested 75% population into Nason's Defiance. And it looks like Briggs is also sending about 2 squads to Genesis terraforming, and then they're starting some fighting at Mulak Foundry as well.
So in the opening here, we still have 3 bases that have yet to resolve themselves, but the west looked like it went very hard for Briggs. Briggs is now already on Genesis terraforming, as he mentioned. However, Emerald has pushed into Ixtab Amp Station. Looks like they got connection there first. They started that cap. Nason's Defiance is going for Briggs. That's 60-40 population there. But Emerald got a crucial push at Broken Vale Garrison. They are now able to push into the Akan area and construction site Epsilon. Still fighting over Wainwright, and Edgewater Overlook, as we said, fell for Emerald. They have yet to make the move onto Fort Liberty right now. So still a lot to settle, but it looks like we're almost going yin and yang here. Briggs to the west and Emerald to the east.
And it's playing into their the map traits. Both teams going for, well, at least what it seems to be the easier quote marks bases. It's easier for Emerald to take the western bases and easier for Briggs to take the eastern bases. But I question perhaps I question perhaps going for the large outposts so early, Genesis and Nason's Defiance, with so much population. But I guess if you lock them down, then you can then continue to start to take back territory, because we already see like a Briggs attack on Broken Vale Garrison, and they are up to 54% on Wainwright Armory, bringing in Sunders as best they can to try and get the capture point back, although it is going to be close at 42 seconds.
A decent, probably 2 or 3 squad-sized counterattack from Emerald at Nettlemar Gardens, pinning Briggs behind enemy lines. They had tried to make the push down the lane beyond this, and now they have to come back and clear their base they had. And this is such an easy base to get a Sunder up to, and I haven't seen it yet, but it's such an easy base to get vehicles inside and help your cap. You can get Sunders and Harassers up here very easily. This is probably at least a platoon or 3 squads.
You want to watch the
worth of
final
ammo.
bit here, squad waypoint? Wainwright Armory.
Yep, okay,
It's
coming there.
flipping back. Looks like Briggs is just not enough. They were flipping the point, but I think there's too much of Emerald on the point, flipping it through.
Waiting for Wainwright to load in. It certainly looks from seeing all the people around that Emerald certainly had that very well locked down, and that was, I believe, TIW.
The Tony Abbott fan club.
Yes.
Or took base. So it's another important base for Emerald. They've now got 2 of the bases on the western flank, and they're already beginning now to push last hold with 69% population.
Nason's is still headed towards Briggs, and Briggs is also making the push at Broken Vale. You know, I wonder, maybe they didn't expect to get what they got at the west and moved some of their forces over into the more important, in my opinion, center. Although Broken Vale I expect to see go back and forth many times today. I'm going to head over to Ixtab Amp Station, which is about 3 minutes from capping.
Yeah, there's like 9 Sunders in here, if not more. There's no opposition, though. It's a free base, 2 minutes, and it's a free 7-minute base.
It's an old-style amp station, correct?
Old-style amp station, and they're getting it for free.
You know, I wonder if the intention here from Briggs is that they can just do this again later in the match. As long as they hold connection to it, they can do exactly what Emerald's doing.
I mean, the thing is, though, getting in there once all those Sunders are set up is also very, very awkward. I'm actually looking at Briggs at Nettlemar Gardens, trying to take back the capture point. Here, I'll give you a waypoint. Emerald is inside the capture point and totally surrounded by Briggs from all sides. And Briggs is just trying to get in with 40 seconds to go.
I think I've already started to see a little bit of maybe a narrative of this match. Briggs is doing a lot of infantry, and Emerald is doing a lot of vehicles. I'm actually kind of surprised I didn't come onto this point and see some Sunders or harassers. That's kind of what I expected.
Nettlemar Gardens is really hard to get a Sunder, and you have to come in from the north. It's very, very fidgety. Harassers would totally work, though.
And, you know, we've already seen now, what, 3 bases where Emerald's, you know, point of taking them was basically just drive vehicles onto the point and, you know, come at me, bro. I wonder if Briggs has practiced to try and stop that.
Well, Nason's Defiance is still a large population pushing for it, and this is the thing. Emerald can continue to push in the west until Nason's Defiance gets to a close timer, and then they can send population back in. And they're going to get Ixtab Amp Station for free, which means they're now probably going to push water purification. It looks like they're leaving Woodman alone. That's like the link to everything, so Briggs would respond to that. It's dangerous. Getting Nasons is good for Briggs because it gives them a lot of links, but they're totally surrounded at the moment. And the western front needs to be stabilized. Already we can see Fort Liberty going up to a platoon size now of forces for Emerald on Fort Liberty, and they've already got a platoon force fighting going on at construction site Epsilon. And Last Hold has been saved by a large platoon to 2 platoons by Briggs. So let's see if those forces can move back to Fort Liberty.
I got excited and I came here to Fort Liberty. I got trapped in the maze for a second to see just what the TR's defense was, and right now there is no TR defense at Fort Liberty. This is a ghost cap for Emerald NC at the moment.
Have you refreshed this then, Red?
No, I need to do it again. Yeah, hold on.
Mm-hmm. So.
Taking a look at populations here and what's getting saved. I'm going to head to Nasons because that looks like that is the final actual fight over this neutral territory. There is some air coming into Fort Liberty as I leave it right now for Briggs trying to get that up. That's not really the base you want air at, though.
This is interesting because there's quite a large investment at construction site Epsilon for Emerald, but they already have people waiting at the next base. Kind of like your annoying little infiltrators at Hatcher Air Station, ready to flip all the points. You got
the NC. Emerald has gotten point B, which is probably the most fortifiable point here at Nasons. They don't manage to have a spawn sunder up back here, though. In fact, I just see Briggs managed to get their spawn sunder up, so I don't think this is going to be very long-lived. Nice point hold, though, from whoever this is on Emerald. Just trying to delay. It's 5 minutes now, but as soon as Briggs manages to sweep in here, this will go much, much faster for
well,
Nasons.
If you want to have a look at construction Epsilon just before it falls, we can see Briggs trying to get into the capture point, but the problem is there are 2 battle sunders, blockade armor with maxes and infantry, and a whole buttload of infantry. It's too hard to get in. As infantry only, underpopped, Briggs hasn't got a chance to get construction site Epsilon.
And
it doesn't look like they have enough numbers at Fort Liberty either. I wonder where that redeployment force from Last Hold is. I mean, they really are losing the West pretty badly here.
And that was after a pretty stunning grab of it early on. I wonder where everyone went.
There's a huge fight going on in Nettlemar Gardens, but Briggs is also losing the tree again with 40 seconds to go.
A new conglomerate has taken the facility.
I don't want to be too... Alright, so Briggs is doing a counterattack at Edgewater, 2 squads. But as much as counterattacking is good, the fact is, with 35 seconds to go in Fort Liberty, the attacking Emerald Force gets Fort Liberty, then redeploys back to Edgewater, makes the save, and then they win-win. So I'm all for attacking a base, but really you could send like 1 or 2 people, but you really need to defend Fort Liberty. And oh my goodness, they're 50-50 numbers, but they're in like 35 seconds to go or something.
Again, here's a vehicle.
The run point's too much. They can't get to the point in time. They've brought too many people in the last second.
Sorry, where are you?
This is Fort Liberty. They spawned in at the absolute last moment, right? But the fact is, the runtime to the cap zone is long. It's a very long run. So they've came. To me, it smacks. You're not prepared. You don't know what the base layout is. Maybe a quick reaction force. Maybe the guys are here. But if you redeploy into the base with 40 seconds to go in Fort Liberty, you will not make it to the capture zone because it's too long of a run. And that's Fort Liberty now capped by Emerald and totally locked off. There's no link adjacencies, so all these TR forces now there are useless, doing absolutely nothing. Now the question is, the TR is now attacking, Briggs is also attacking Edgewater. Now Edgewater we know is a very vulnerable base, but the two squads that they had here had for a minute plus, maybe 2 minutes, there's no deployed Sundra. There's no battle Sundras watching the spawn rooms, so there's not that same level of commitment or planning. See, they have a Sundra, but it's way off to the west side. So like I can show you here at, let's go waypoint. And you can see for yourself the difference in approach to the attacking of this base.
Just to recap here, Briggs, we finally had all of our neutral bases fall. Briggs, apparently at the very end, pushed really hard for Nason's Defiance. It cost them greatly. You can see it's 54-45 in Emerald's favor as far as territory. And while Briggs looked like they had a really good push going on in the west, they now have lost a lot of that or had to come back and take stuff back. Nettlemire, they did manage to resecure, and they are looking to push at Genesis. I'm actually going to head over to Genesis right now. The east has, the west has fallen very hard though for Emerald. Where do you think that Briggs is going to start pushing here as I fly back over to the east?
They're trying to get Edgewater Overlook. The entire population that was fighting at Fort Liberty has come to Edgewater Overlook. It's a 96+ fight, split evenly about platoon each per side. Briggs does not have a Sundra on the sweet spot deployed by the capture point. However, they do have all the high ground, so they've still got a fairly strong advantage. Hard to see with Air Force what's going on, but I think
I've actually
Briggs
found both.
space.
I've found both Air Forces. They are fighting over construction site Epsilon right now, and it's very hard for me to tell who's winning. Maybe this was Briggs finding a force of Emerald trying to protect some galaxies, but I can't really tell. It looks honestly like both sides wandered off there. Only 2 mosquitoes left, hammering a single NC galaxy now. I just happened to run into that as I was flying across the map. Genesis terraforming, it looks like Emerald came back to this because now there's only 1 point held by Briggs.
Emerald is being very tenacious. They're pushing up their own battle Sundra and infantry. I mean, they're at the capture building now. It'd be very much a miracle, I think, if Briggs can hold on to this for the next 50 seconds.
Genesis terraforming is being wiped out point by point by I would say perhaps a platoon and a half sized force of Emerald here. There is some Valkyrie support coming in for Briggs TR right now, but this is down to the final point. Looks like they're getting wiped off when we get down in there. Just lots of Scattermaxes. And not even any C4, unfortunately, for them to take out that Scattermax. They were just all trying to gun them down. They did manage to, Briggs did manage to resecure Nettlemire Gardens, though, and, but man, that eastern push is just absolutely killing them up there. Hatcher Air Station is now ticking away. They did not manage to get Broken Vale Garrison, and as you said, Edgewater has been pushed back. That is definitely not the lane I would have expected.
Very big push.
The Edgewater lane is not the lane I would have expected to see, 96 plus, 100 person plus fights on.
Well, currently looking at Hatcher Air Station, right? All 3 capture points are in Emerald's hands, and I see very, very little fighting. Despite the fact that we have 24 hostiles on this base, there's practically no fighting going on. And at the moment,
I actually can see Briggs's Air Force has bypassed this. They are flying past. I'm trying to see what base they're headed to right now. They're obviously trying to ground pound. They're all the way at the amp station here. I'm confused as to what
that's interesting. Yes, so look at that. The 71% population for Briggs pushing the amp station. So they've been pushed off the Genesis. Maybe they've gone for the amp. And they're also pushing the except power regulation with 50-50 pop. I don't see how they can pull that off. Nason's Defiance, you're right, is Briggs, but there's now a half platoon of Emerald ticking down Nason's Defiance. There are 2 large outposts, essentially, that are now ticking down that Briggs has to deal with. Hatcher Air Station and Nason's Defiance. Those are the linchpins in terms of further progression. If Briggs wants to get back into this, they can take back the small territories in the west. The west is still the easiest place to get easy territory, or alternatively, they are going to have to break Genesis to push further territory. They've got Nason's Defiance, that offers them another option. If it's fully saved, they can apply pressure to Gurney Dam. So extra power regulation into Gurney Dam is a good way of getting territory pushing south. But right now, they need to stabilize, and they need to save bases like Hatcher Air Station is what I'm looking at the moment, and it's just free countdowns.
I'm also watching them attempt to get back onto the point here at Edgewater Overlook, which will just help them as far as stabilizing this lane, not allowing them to push through. And yet again, they're facing a Sunder that was deployed directly on the point by the NC. That just got blown up. But with 32 seconds left, I don't know if there are enough TR Briggs pushing forward onto this point yet. Lots of smoke. Observer Cam's worst enemy. Oh, they've managed to come around the back here. They might be able to get this if they can push in. 15 seconds. I wouldn't be standing by the door, guys. You need to push in. You need to get on that point, Max.
The Sunder location's poor, though. The Briggs guys are... No, it's not going to happen. Because they're fighting into a capture point owned by the enemy who owns the base.
And unfortunately...
without the Sunder spot.
And unfortunately, now that it's completely defended, I'm going to expect that Emerald has people ahead of them at last hold.
They do. They got 72% with 12:24 at last hold waiting. So I'd imagine that capture point is now ticking down instantly.
It looks like Genesis is back flying again. If you'll head to last hold and stay in the Hatcher Air Station area, I'm going to head back over... If I don't get lost here, I'm going to head back over to the east and see if they can manage to steal Genesis.
So we got about a squad babysitting the last hold capture point for Emerald. I assume they're getting a Sunder set up now, so they can possibly get some of their reinforcements to spawn in.
Under 30 seconds here at Genesis Terraforming. All 3 points are held by Briggs. They have air support. They have Bulldog Galaxies sitting here trying to hammer any pushes that come out of this. The NC are just getting absolutely mowed out as they try and push across these very...
It's very, very huge. Big if Briggs can get Genesis.
Unfortunately, they're not guarding the forest push that you can do. If you hop over, you can get to C.
I just don't... Charlie.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just not enough... Oh, never mind. As I say, there's not enough time. Emerald is flipping 2 points on them. And they have a Sunder behind. They did not guard behind them at C. That was the huge mistake on Briggs' part. They were so busy trying to lock them into their spawn room. And A is still contested. 18 seconds. They are managing to get the point back. Did they manage to kill off enough of the NC in the last moments?
There's a bit of an infantry crunch going on at last hold. Briggs has the point. I want to see if they've got deployed Sunders out of Battle Sunder. Nope, Sunder's down. Okay, so Briggs is breaking in their own Sunders. They're approaching the capture point from all sides.
Oh my god,
Emerald has a lot of people in
Emerald is just absolutely crushing with population, trying to take B back. They've managed to get it. That was an absolute just population zerg. Probably at least a platoon, probably 2 platoons worth of infantry. Yeah, stopped on 1 second. Briggs has managed to counter push with some maxes. Even for a TR max, I don't know they have enough bullets to kill all of these NC that managed to get on the point.
Yep, I saw that Reaver death. That's going to be my highlights reel.
B is... Oh, it's starting to flip back. Just the play style here is so different. Emerald is moving as a group. They don't care that they don't have maxes. They don't care that they're not throwing grenades. They're literally just human wave tactic. Took back B. Meanwhile, we saw Briggs back at the other base. They were, they were trying to chuck grenades in. They were staying by the doorway. They were trying to protect their maxes. One of those styles is working right now, and one of those styles isn't. The human wave is absolutely just crushing things at the last second here.
Well, assuming you have a moment, last hold is ticking down, 70 seconds to go. Consistent internal. There's no reinforcements. There's no spawn Sunder. There's nothing fancy. There's no force multipliers like a Sunder or Air Force. It is simply Emerald inside the capture building, defending very well.
And as the map loads in, we can see, oh my god, there's so many. There's so many Briggs just trying to peek through these doorways. I mean, the difference is startling between these two bases. They're slowly trying to move through cover, and maybe they'll have enough time to push. They have 30 seconds here right now, but that's not what Emerald was doing. Emerald was just basically saying, charge, follow me, fix bayonets, and charge up.
With 25 seconds to go, you are... Okay, so they've cleared the lower section and small stairs. Maybe?
No.
Nope.
No. If anything, it was counter-cleared by Emerald.
Yeah, there's barely any above them, and with 16 seconds to go, the runtime from the spawn room is too harsh. And yes, they've got harassers outside, but it's not enough. There are no spawn options to kill because all the Emerald are inside. And that is going to be that. That's another base. That was a long, good infantry hold. There's no necessarily reason why that should have happened. I wonder who Briggs has fighting this base, because let's be clear here, Briggs has to pull almost their entire server population to form a team. But who had they had at last hold? Did they not? Because they've got Liberators and they've got Air Force, and that's fair enough. And they've got Harassers and spawn killing options. That's great.
We've been looking at so many things. We totally missed the fact that Nason's Defiance is about to cap and is completely cut off in the center.
Oh, Genesis Terraforming went. Did you tell us about that? Because I didn't see that. And Hatcher Air Station was going to go. It was close. It's within the last minute, but it's been saved now by Briggs.
I'm heading over to Nason's because this... Briggs spent a great deal of blood and treasure getting this base, and it's 30 seconds till they lose it now.
Oh, you're 60% now for Briggs. They are here, and it's a perfect base to attack in all directions. Woodman ASC, Broken Veil, Girding Dam, but you're right, they need to save it. The thing is, even if they do save it, it's like it's a full-blown 20 minutes to get the large outpost back, so you can then get capture points and start attacking.
I actually might have to leave this base. Planetside doesn't want to seem to load things in permanently. They keep on popping in and out.
I don't see how, with this Air Force and these galaxies and the separated, spread out capture points, I don't see how
they're getting C back. Briggs is managing to get some people down on C.
They need 2 points, so that's the okay. The A's flipping now.
I'm shocked at some of these trades that have been made here. They did manage to get Hatcher Air Station back. Briggs did. And they're defending Nason's Defiant. They managed to get Genesis Terraforming, and that might have looked good when they had connection over there at Nason's, but now they got to get back. Woodman, they tried to do the Ixatab Amp Station thing. They're being crushed 70-30 in population at Ixatab after getting a nice hack on there.
Emerald's got the options now. They can choose what to do. The fact is, okay, yes, they've lost Genesis Terraforming plan, but the fact is, they're pushing back on Hatcher Air Station. That's the push. The fact is, Nason's Defiance is going down, but that's a long cap. So they can push Hatcher Air Station Nason's Defiance with a massive population redeploy, or they can continue to push smaller bases, as they are currently doing at Can Southern Labs. Go over to Hatcher Air Station, check that out.
Yeah, I'm at Hatcher right now, and the last point is flipping in favor of the NC. That's A point. The TR were holding that and slowing this down. Once this falls, it's under 20 seconds now till this base falls.
Wow.
They have Briggs does have some air in here now, but not enough. There's no spawns to kill. All the people are on the point.
I mean, I like the fact that Briggs has got like this Liberator hunting pack, and they have presumably a harasser force coming around being spawned now. The B's flipping, but it needs to be a second point. And there you go, Hatcher Air Station taken. And that is a large outpost. That's huge. I mean, that is the equivalent of taking Genesis Terraforming Plan. And these were much smaller numbers that were fighting on this base. We can see that Briggs is counter-attacking at last hold with 69% population. And they've made a save at Can Southern Labs. And they've been pushed off Woodman ASC. The thing is, now that you're Emerald and you've taken Hatcher Air Station, what do you do next? I would send the entire attacking force from Hatcher Air Station and go to Nason's Defiance, and now push Nason's Defiance to absolutely throttle this continent.
And, I mean, looking at this map, I think this is a problem that a lot of servers run into. When you are pushed this hard early on, obviously your plan didn't work. And I think that there's a tendency to just say, well, the North is their problem or the East is their problem, just let them do it. This is the time. If you're going to move people around, if you're going to say, hey, you know what, platoon, whatever, it didn't work out, we're going to move somebody over there to help you, we're going to change what we're doing, this is the time. Briggs has to make that change now. The match is already running away from them. They have to at least stop it, and only once you stop it can you start saying, okay, now here's what we're going to push. We're going to try and take stuff back. It's a lot of time left. There's two-thirds of the map or of the matches left. They have a lot of time yet to push back, but they have to start right now.
I mean, they're committing to Nason's Defiance, but Emerald is doing a good job at just holding down B and A. And so, Briggs has the central... This is watching some of the Air Force flying around currently over Nason's Defiance. It's a lovely base, how it's all spread out. Everyone's just kind of fighting their own fight. But Emerald has 2 capture points, and it's ticking down 2 minutes. It's getting really critical now because they can just dunk in more and more population. And they'll take the base with a few seconds with just 2 capture points, let alone 3.
B has managed to flip, and on live, B is usually the place that people make their farm stand. They aren't actually trying to take the base; they just set up a sunder and they say, "Come at us," and sit back there. It seems to be a little bit easier to flip.
Force Commander, if you look at the map, this is absolute chaos. If you're Briggs, Moss Ridge Command is under attack by 2 squads. Acan Southern Labs is under attack. Who blinks first? Because you're attacking Broken Vale Garrison. You're under popped on both bases, however. Acan Data Hub is under attack. Non-Marsh Command is being saved, so maybe you can go back to Hatcher Air Station. At the very least, you need to have at least 1 point flip so they can't go to Hub and Marsh. And your attack on Last Hold is stalling, and you're actually losing the cap with extra population. You've got 58% population and you're not taking it. And then if you look down at Moonlight Foundry, this is 67% population for Emerald pushing back that eastern lane, because as easily as Briggs pushed down the eastern lane at Moonlight Tech Plant, it can be pushed all the way back up again to the Ziggurat, if not to the Biolab. It's a lot of easy territories that Emerald can go for if they want to.
And looking at these territories, the Woodman ASC Labs push, what Emerald is pushing for is that incredibly weak lane that runs straight to the Warp Gate. They're not, they have people over to Con Southern, that I assume is something that's being defended by Briggs, but Briggs is not defending the weak center. That's the Moss Ridge, Bunker J993, Construction Site Omega. That is an incredible danger here. They could split Briggs straight down the middle very, very easily in probably 30 minutes and be sitting outside their Warp Gate if they're not careful.
So, I don't want to call this too early, and we're an hour and a half left in this game, but do you think Emerald can get the mythical 70%?
I think Briggs needs to make changes right this instant. And I mean changes like moving platoons around, saying, hey, you guys were in charge down in South, now these people are in charge down in South, that kind of stuff. And that's really hard to do.
Rotating platoons is difficult, especially if certain platoons are fighting in certain areas and they prep for it. But there's another thing. At a strategic level, is the Force Commander doing the correct calls? For both teams, probably yes. But then you have to talk about at a tactical level, when you actually get to the base and the platoon or whoever fighting force you have is at the base, how they actually fight is an important element, and that's not something you can do during an actual ServerSmash.
Again, I've been to multiple different bases here. I feel like I'm hopping around a lot more than usual with our little squad waypoint thing. You telling me to go different places, and the difference is startling. How Emerald is moving onto these points, the amount of force multiplying sunders that they're bringing onto points with them, or the better spawns that they're getting at bases, even here at Mulak Foundry. And then the just simple human wave tactics. It's not wait and peek around the corner or chuck grenades in. It's literally just, hey, I'm moving in first. Our medics better be last, because if we're dead, we're just getting rezzed up pushing in.
And what's fascinating for me is that I'm looking at Moss Ridge Command Center. It's got 60 seconds to go. I see lightnings, I see mosquitoes, I see twin galaxies, even a Sunder coming out. But the actual capture point is being held by only about 12 people, and there's no battle Sunder. So the question is, where's the TR and why are they not trying to push in as a team? All these vehicles and support logistics outside the capture point are being completely useless for inside the base. That doesn't mean to be overly negative.
At Mulak Foundry, again, just that group up tactic, human wave, is what just defeated a very nice looking point hold from the TR. They had maxes, they had engineers repping them, they were set up, they were choking the point. And the NC said, don't care, we're just going to come in with our maxes, we're going to push everyone together in a big tight ball, and now they own the point again with 1:21 left to take this point.
So Moss Ridge, it got population came in. The one squad of NC did a very valiant job, but let's be clear here, about 12-ish, roughly from my map, maybe a little bit more, of NC that was at Moss Ridge Command pulled in an overpop of TR to make it safe. And except water purification, it's got 70 seconds to go. There's a lot of fires going on Briggs' side that need to put out. And realistically speaking, Briggs needs to not only put the fires out, but then start causing some of their own force force Emerald to go back and do defensive saves. But the difference here is that when Emerald attacks, as we were talking about, the style of gameplay is that they will bring force multipliers like Sunders or whatnot to the point. And this kind of reminiscent of the last time we were on Hossin. I don't feel as if that Cobalt brought enough force multipliers on certain bases. And maybe that's just my point of view.
It's interesting, you know, the 27 seconds here left. You can see the redeploy from Briggs coming in, and they're trying to push in. I don't know, maybe they're running individual squads and don't have communication with everyone. But the question now becomes, is Briggs running out of the ability to pull maxes? Because I think that this is the time where you panic and you chain pull maxes and try and go in through that door. And there are certainly some Briggs maxes here at Mulak Foundry, but not enough to push in through there. Especially not when there are Sunders on there.
With 9 seconds to go, we're still watching what's going on here. I mean, if you want to come, it's the point's flipping, it's going back and forth. It's basically Res Grenade Wars at the moment. With 4 seconds to go, TR, they came in with a full gal, dropped in the capture point, but the NC force was on the point and they saved it. So this is one of the few bases, bizarrely, water purification, where you can actually have those liberators that you've been using to pound the point, because none of this Emerald force was actually inside a building. They were all outside in the open on the point. So that's another easy base, and this was small numbers. I mean, we're only talking like 12 people per team fighting over this base.
Interestingly, I do know who is, I don't know if he's platoon leading, but I do know whose platoon is at Mulak Pass, because as soon as that was captured by the NC, it said Poonaner's force rules all through chat the entire time. So that's certainly where Poonaner's is, down at the Mulak area. Are you sure
he's actually playing or platoon leading, or is it just a montage towards him?
We'll have to ask that question later. It would not surprise me if he was their mascot screaming in yell chat.
Right.
It does look like Last Hold managed to get taken back by Briggs. I see Nam Marsh is falling. Looks like the
Very
center is
small
still
numbers,
going.
though.
Yeah. It looks like everything's kind of settling down here, and Nason still has not been fixed. I'm actually going to head over to Edgewater Overlook if you want to poke your head into Nason's and see if anything different's going on there.
Well, the thing about Nason's, though, is that you have to understand it's an expanded, hard to get 3 points, and even with 2 points, it's going to take 20 minutes for a full save, timer-wise. So Nason's will take a long time before it become a viable combat base, and you need to put in a lot of forces to make that happen. So it's just tying down a huge amount of Briggs' combat force without... And Emerald doesn't have to worry about it because they're essentially fighting on an enemy base, so their own bases are safe.
Now, Briggs does have their Sunder popping Air Force, probably maybe 2 squads of them, over here at Edgewater Overlook. They are managing to take out those pesky Sunders that the defenders keep on putting right next to A. That being said, I still don't see... Yeah, it's a long run from the Briggs Sunder to get up there. And they might have already been back-capped here. Yeah, Last Hold's already fallen, so this force doesn't even matter. Even though they moved all of them forward.
Oh, that's a tricky... See, that's the thing. I mean, if you're going for Edgewater, you technically want the Sunder there and the Infiltrator on the point, or a couple of guys, or like a squad at most. You got to guarantee that you're holding Last Hold. Flip the point at Edgewater, and the instant that point is flipped, then move everybody en masse. And otherwise, case in point happens exactly what you're looking at right now.
And now, unfortunately, Last Hold is not a place that the Briggs Air Force can really do much. These Emerald guys are not surviving on a Swan Sunder. They basically just dropped in here. Okay.
And Briggs is making a play for Broken Veil, but it looks like they've just lost the capture point as we speak.
Yeah, this was it looks like a small squad maybe of Briggs.
It was reasonably small numbers, but Emerald's come in with quite a reasonable force and just push them off the cap point. Oh, and we can see that Briggs has actually got a Sunder in the...
Yeah, they tried...
Oh, nice! So come up to...
Yep.
Let's go to waypoint.
Yeah, I'm
so
here.
This is where the sweet Sunder point is, and Emerald knows exactly where they are and has brought their own one, and we're having Sunder Wars.
Emerald certainly said, hey, if you're going to try and beat us in vehicle tactics, don't expect us not to know exactly what you're doing.
It's the great Sunder location, though, if you're going to attack Broken Veil. And it definitely favors attacking from the north because of the ability to pull it from the Biolab and then go straight down to Broken Veil. So if ever you're going to attack Broken Veil, then you would do it from the north in terms of Sunder location. And it looks like Briggs is trying to get back on the capture point, but this Emerald force is being a right nuisance. They've brought back their Twin Fury Sunders again? Yes, and they're going to try and get rid of the Spawn Sunder.
Well, they did get popped that time. There's enough people defending this for Briggs, but Emerald must have hacked something.
The capture point, though, is totally defended and locked down.
And Emerald obviously hacked something out of the back here because they just have a Spawn Sunder. Oh, actually, it looks like Briggs is pushing forward, so this might...
So Moonlight Foundry was lost from Briggs, and Emerald took it. And it looks like that Briggs is making a defensive save in Nettlemire Gardens. What's also interesting is that they're saving last hold now, and it looks like they're maybe getting ready to go to Edgewater Overlook again, but I can imagine Emerald is waiting for it.
As fun as all this is, unfortunately, the other thing that Emerald is taking from Briggs is a Con Data Hub. And a Con Data Hub means that they will be able to attack a Biolab very shortly.
It's 50-50 though with a squad each. The other thing is that there's actually a half platoon of except water purification getting that base for free.
It might be 50-50, but there is no one close to the point for Briggs with 43 seconds left.
Which base are you talking about?
A Con Data Hub.
Sorry, I was looking at Southern Labs.
Small force of Briggs trying to push up the big stairs here, trying to get in there. They've already tossed some grenades, and unfortunately, they're that small of a force, they can just be taken out by a single explosive. 22
Still
seconds.
Too heavy on big stairs. They might be able to pull off. Oh, EMP, that's going to strip the shields. Tell you what, though. They made it just. Yeah, there was a max.
Very,
the max
very
was the last
nice.
guy, but they're there. I mean, it was a last moment save. Now, hopefully, I won't try to say overcommittal forces, but no, it's about the reasonable size.
Yeah.
And construction site Beta's now being attacked from Hatcher Air Station. That one's maybe it's not as awkward as it sounds because it's another construction site. So if you can get Sunders into the capture point, then that would work.
Actually, gonna head over there now because that's close.
2 minutes left in the base capture, and on the inside, oh wow, this one's messy. It's a ghost cap. There's no one here. That's interesting. In fact, yeah, we can tell by the population. There's only one guy. It's an infiltrator. It's nice. He's bought 2 minute base capture on construction site. In fact, there's nobody there. I'm the only person in here. So if I leave the SOI, then yeah. Tell you what, if you are that infiltrator that's attacking construction site Beta and you flip the point, why not get a Sunder out, park it, and then let's say the guys who are attacking a Can Data Hub, if they fail with that capture, they can redeploy, spawn in the construction site Beta Sunder, and then they can just, take the base with 90 seconds to go. In fact, it's got 90 seconds to go, and there's nobody there at all.
I've come back over to the fight here at a Con Data Hub because it's going back and forth on the point for Emerald. Emerald has managed to take back the point with under a minute left. They've pushed the TR back out to the big stairs. Actually, past the big stairs. They've knocked him completely out of the building here. The powerhouse is owned by the NC. There's a small force trying to push up the small stair here.
Is it me, or is the Emerald teams typically staying together in squads, and the Brig teams seem to be more kind of lone wolf people?
They do seem to be more lone wolf. One of the things that is a misnomer here, and it tends to reflect poorly on whoever is behind early, and I think it also significantly affects what people call the momentum effect. If you're ahead and in lead, you tend to stay in the lead, and it just grows and grows. Is once you are winning, especially by significant points, you have the luxury of grouping everyone together and ignoring bases and pushing for only what you want. The defender does not have that luxury. They have to start splitting up, and it looks like fires everywhere. So Emerald, since probably 15 minutes into this match, as they capture a Con Data Hub and get access to the Biolab right now, has had the luxury...
Labs is also turning into a huge 50-50 fight as well.
So Emerald has had the luxury of grouping up and making their force count where it needs to for basically since the beginning.
I don't believe this. Look at construction site Beta. It's a free base. Construction by Beta was taken for free by an infiltrator who
wasn't
then
even in the
decided
hex.
to leave 2 minutes in.
Wow.
That's another base, and the fact is, I guarantee you, when Briggs goes there to take it back, they will be there and spawn back into defense. So, I don't know if that was missed, if the Force Commander didn't see it. Maybe it's been overworked. It's always good to have an assistant Force Command, just looking at the map, see if any of the Force Commanders missed anything. But that reflects poorly on the Force Commander there of Briggs. They didn't even have just one guy, but he's got a lot of fires to put out. They are trying to apply more pressure on the eastern lanes to make up for the west.
The Khan Biolab has a significant force of NC in here. There's nobody coming from TR. You know, what this tells me is that TR is trying to put out fires everywhere, and you don't know whether that was, you know, multiple orders being given out.
Hossin plays into their strengths.
Yes.
Hossin plays into anyone who is tactically flexible and able to spread out and, you know, attack as many lanes as possible.
If you can capture a base with more than your numbers with only 12 people, Hossin is absolutely the map for you. If you can do that for 240 people, or actually this match is 288, so 288 people doing that, you will do very, very well on this map. And with a very fast cap, all 3 points are owned currently by Emerald NC, and I do not see anyone coming for the TR yet. This is, if you're going to defend your Biolab, you got to do it now. They own all 3 points. There's only 90 seconds left.
Emerald's put 60% population to Nason's defense, and it was always tentative that it was, and they've also... Gosh, they've got 2 platoons possibly on Biolab and the push Nason Defiance, so 2 big plays in the center that's going on. There's also a big play by Briggs with an outpop to Edgewater Overlook, 35 seconds to go. Moss Ridge finally falls, so it's taken now by Emerald. Briggs is trying to take Ixtab Water Purification and Ixtab Southern Pass, so they are doing some offensive captures. They're also doing Mulak Foundry and SRP Hydroponics, and these are good territory plays, but they're losing valuable large bases such as Nason's Defiance and Akan. Now, I guess you could argue that why go for the large outposts that are tricky to take when there's a plethora of small bases to take?
The problem is that right now that there are huge blocks to taking those small bases. Really, the only place that Briggs can grab small bases is that far eastern lane right now. Everything else runs into a major facility. So here we are, 30 seconds of the Biolab. Do not see enough people from Briggs spawning in. I'm sorry, as I say this, they're popping smoke and I think trying to come out. And it looks like Nason's going to fall. If you can tell me when Nason falls, because it looks like they're going to fall at about the same time here.
Oh no, wait, it's flipping, it's flickering.
A point has a couple of people on the Biolab.
Charlie point, yeah.
Briggs managed to get onto A.
Both ways, yeah.
Unfortunately, they need 2 points, 45 seconds left in the Biolab.
1 infiltrator. No one is defending A point at Mason's Defiance. So 1 infiltrator has come in and got it by himself. And this 1 infiltrator, he's going to win the base.
The SCU has been blown at the Biolab, and that's a huge time waste here. Oh, okay, Briggs does have enough people. It looks like they probably got him in here before the SCU blew. If they can get to the point just in time, that is a last-second save there.
Twin infiltrators in Mason's Defiance stopped the heavy assault from flipping the alpha capture point because Briggs came up with a deployed Sunder, but it's just too late, and that's big. Nason's Defiance is now captured. That safeguards all the center bases for Emerald, and it looks like they're maybe making a save in Ixtab Water Purification.
Interestingly, Briggs is slowly pushing into Emerald territory down the south. I gotta find a way out of the damn Biolab here.
But at what cost? There's a huge... I mean, the entire west has collapsed, and the center has just been gobbled up.
You know, I guess there is the possibility of a strategy here saying, you know what, we can't defend anything. Forget trying to defend it. Let's just play yin-yang. Maybe they're going to try and take as much territory as they're losing. Maybe they swap war plates?
I mean, Briggs Air Force turned up extra war purification, so they're getting the base. And I think they're also going to get SRP Nanite Relay, although they are out-popped. Oh my god, look at the out-popping they've got as SRP.
I'm not
70% against 28, 20 seconds to go.
The Emerald Air Force is here. They aren't doing much to it yet. I'm trying to look. There is a little bit of a guerrilla parade heading to the point. Only 4 of them, though. It's surprising for the amount of overpop.
Okay, so the capture point's now flickering.
There we go.
It was very close, but then again, 10 seconds isn't close in ServerSmash. 0.1 of a nanosecond is close. Yeah, you're right, the Air Force is here. It did force, but the important thing is it forced a population committal. It forced Emerald to pull in 74% to stop this, and that's what Briggs has to keep doing. They need to force Emerald to overcommit population so that they can make saves elsewhere. I mean, they are making a save at Akan Biolab. They've got 68% population, but they are losing Akan Southern Labs in a 50-50 fight. And the fact is, you have to win your 50-50 fights.
So with about an hour coming up left in the match, let's go over some of our stats here. We're going to look at players and kills. So you can see it's about even. It's kind of gone back and forth. It looks like Emerald has had the lead a couple times. Briggs has had the lead a couple times. It's pretty darn close as far as overall kills go.
You wouldn't think that by looking at the map or looking at basically the percentages, but you're right. The number of kills are rock solid. And even if you do go at player statistics, TR actually has the first top 10. You know, they've got quite a few spots. Top four.
Yeah. So that's actually pretty surprising there, considering what the territory looks like. Looking at outfits here, TIW, Tony Abbott Fan Club, at the top there, along with Bax.
The Reaver Mosquito killed relatively close as well.
Yeah, Reaver and Mosquito. Yeah, oh wow, that's not been the case for the last several matches here. So it looks like the air is maybe dealing with each other or avoiding each other and just farming the ground. We'll have to ask that later. And then as far as the top, the Anchor is atop the Carve, though not hugely. The Carve could certainly come back. And also, one of the things there is you have the Carve and the MSWR splitting the kills. You have a lot of MSWR lovers out there as well. And if I switch this...
Well, Briggs just dunked on a Can Southern Labs. They've made the save there. So the population that was in the Biolab just came into Can Southern Labs. But the fact is, Emerald has gone back to the Biolab. So Briggs is going to have to decide how they're going to defend these points.
Looking
Hades
at
Skydock is also ticking down, and so is the Awful Pit. So no one actually fought the construction site beta. That means Hades Skydock only by a few people here. This is like ghost capping stuff going at Hades Skydock and Awful Pit. And non-marsh. It's all small numbers. Edgewater Overlook, because it's such a hard base to defend, was captured by Briggs, is now going back for Emerald.
Just to cover the territory thing, it looks like Briggs was ahead very, very early on, and then a huge push from Emerald about to an hour 15 remaining, then about even back and forth, and then another big push ending in that capture of Moss Ridge Command Center there, getting us up to currently 58 to 41 in the capture. So looking at where to go here, it looks like Briggs did move on to Mulak Tech Plant to try and push that as well. But you're right, they are having a huge problem in the center.
If you're Briggs, right, Tech Plant is not the thing to go for. If you're at Briggs in the south, except Southern Pass offers you Sunder locations. SRP Hydroponics, that was a good push, and Mulak Pass. Those are three much better bases that you could apply pressure to. They are going to have to do something about Bunker J993 because it looked as if they had it, but now they don't. It's not very descriptive, but the fact is they're right outside the capture point, and there's barely any Emerald here. Okay, maybe they're hiding behind the doors. And we can see them actually coming in. I don't know if you can check this.
Yep, I'm here. I'm here now. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is the base that was named in memorial for an Emerald player, correct?
Yes. I don't know the server, but I know it was named in memorial.
Yeah. So Briggs has managed to push in and take this point. As I say that, the last defender from Briggs gets killed by a infiltrator and a heavy. Yeah. Small stairs seems to be the action again.
Yeah.
I have to admit, if I was that heavy, I would have felt the same thing. I can't tell you the number of times I go into a point and I get killed, and I'm like, guys, why didn't you defend me? And I look around, and I'm like, oh, you didn't defend me because you're all dead.
It's certainly a carousel merry-go-round. These are small numbers, and this is the interesting thing about Hossin. Rather than having equally balanced forces and all the bases are up for contention, we're seeing huge fights on certain bases and absolutely tiny fights on others. So, you know, player skill really does come into it, and perhaps latency and lag or whatnot, it's hard to say. It's hard, you know, hard to say how that might play into it, unless because Briggs always deals with laggy play. But it is kind of cool, and the fact is, they've had plenty of time to make a save. They've got 65% population for Briggs, but with 25 seconds to go, it looks like Emerald's going to get this. Did Briggs go after spawn sunders or beacons? Or
I actually left because I saw the Awful Pit had a even pop fight on it, but you're right, Bunker J998, even though they are out popped, jeez, I'm going to head back over there. I feel like a ping pong ball today.
Alright, here it comes. 3 seconds to go.